More than just the story of his weak heel, Achilles' life was filled with adventure and battles. From his birth involving gods and nymphs to his central role in the Trojan War, we'll uncover the fascinating details of this legendary figure. Achilles was not just a human but had divine connections as well. His story is more than the tale of his famous weak point, his heel. Let me share a more detailed version of his life and adventures. There are two stories about how Achilles came to be. Both include Zeus, the chief god in Greek mythology. In the first story, Zeus and his brother Poseidon both were attracted to Thetis, a beautiful sea nymph. However, Themis, the goddess of justice, warned them that any child born to Thetis and a god would end up being more powerful than its father. Remembering how Zeus had overthrown his own father, Cronus, after Cronus had swallowed his other children, only to be forced to cough them back up, Zeus and Poseidon didn't want to risk facing a similar rebellion from their own child, so they decided to have Thetis marry a mortal man, Peleus, instead. In the second version, Thetis herself refused Zeus's advances. Zeus, in his anger, decreed that Thetis could not marry a god. Thus, she ended up marrying Peleus. Peleus felt incredibly fortunate to be wed to a goddess, but Thetis wasn't happy about this arrangement. She tried to flee, but Peleus managed to capture her with the assistance of a centaur. Thetis, forced into her marriage with Peleus, didn't wish for an ordinary child. Before Achilles, she had 6 other children whom she tested for immortality using methods like fire or boiling water, but all her attempts failed. When Achilles was born, Thetis was determined to make him immortal. She first tried to burn away his mortality in a sacred fire, but Peleus intervened. Then, she immersed Achilles in the river Styx, a river that bordered the realm of the dead, making him almost entirely invulnerable except for the part of his heel where she held him. Achilles was brought up by a centaur, not by his mother. Thetis wasn't very involved in his upbringing. Some stories say she left Achilles and Peleus, while others suggest she stayed and helped prepare Achilles for his role in the Trojan War. Chiron, a wise and kind centaur unlike his wild counterparts, trained Achilles. He fed Achilles special food and taught him various skills like healing, music, hunting, and combat. Chiron even handed down his own war spear to Achilles. Additional stories about Achilles' youth include an interesting twist. Peleus, warned that his son would perish in the Trojan War, sent Achilles to King Lycomedes' court on the island of Scyros. Here, Achilles disguised himself as a girl and lived among the king's daughters. He even fathered a son, Neoptolemus, with one of them, Didymia. This part of the story highlights how vital Achilles was to the Greek side in the Trojan War. The Greeks, informed by the prophet Calchas that they couldn't win without Achilles, eventually located and brought him back from Scyros. Achilles' best friend was Patroclus, who came to live with him after accidentally killing another young boy. They grew very close, and when Patroclus later died, Achilles was driven to fight the Trojans with great ferocity. Some historians and ancient writers even suggest they might have been more than just friends. Their relationship was deep and significant, much like those of comrades in battle. In Homer's epic, the Iliad, this close bond is evident. Achilles' profound grief over Patroclus' death underscores the strength of their connection. Achilles played a pivotal role in the Greek victory in the Trojan War, but he was also fated to die there. His parents, anxious about this prophecy, hid him as a girl on the island of Scyros. However, the astute Odysseus discovered Achilles. Odysseus cleverly uncovered Achilles' true identity by offering gifts, including weapons, to the women. Achilles, naturally drawn to the sword and shield, revealed himself and thus was compelled to join the war. In the city of Troy, Achilles led a fleet of 50 ships and a group of elite warriors known as the Myrmidons. However, in Homer's Iliad, it's depicted that the Greek forces often fought in a disorderly manner, each soldier seeking personal glory rather than following a strategic plan. Only occasionally did the Myrmidons display real tactical prowess in battle. Achilles was a standout in one-on-one fights. For 9 years, he and his men conquered 23 cities. During this time, they captured Briseis and Chryseis. Achilles handed Chryseis to Agamemnon, but when Chryseis' father offered a ransom, Agamemnon refused until a plague forced his hand. He then took Briseis from Achilles, causing a rift. The Iliad varies on Achilles' feelings for Briseis, but he was definitely offended by Agamemnon's actions, seeing it as arrogant. As Achilles sulked, the Trojans, led by Hector, pushed back the Greeks. Agamemnon tried to appease Achilles with Briseis and treasure, but Achilles stayed out of the fight. Hector's success continued, and he even set Greek ships on fire. Patroclus, Achilles' close friend, then asked to lead the Myrmidons. Achilles agreed, letting Patroclus wear his armor. Initially successful, Patroclus got reckless and was killed by Hector, who then wore Achilles' armor. Achilles' rage is legendary. It's the focus in the Iliad, especially after Patroclus' death. Swearing revenge, he got new invincible armor from his mother and Hephaestus, the god of craftsmanship. Though reconciling with Agamemnon, Achilles' main goal was to kill Hector. He and his Myrmidons drove the Trojans back, even angering the river Xanthos with the bloodshed. Finally, Achilles confronted Hector at Troy's gates. The final showdown between Achilles and Hector was a dramatic event, watched by all of Troy, including Hector's father, King Priam. Achilles, in his new armor, was invulnerable. Hector's spear had no effect on it. Realizing his disadvantage, Hector tried to flee, leading to a three-loop chase around the city. When Achilles finally caught him, he struck Hector's throat with his spear. Hector, dying, pleaded for his body to be returned to Troy for proper rites. But Achilles, fueled by rage and grief, refused, declaring he wished he could do even worse. He predicted Hector would be devoured by dogs, ignoring Hector's warning of his own impending death by Apollo and Paris. Achilles then dishonored Hector by dragging his body behind his chariot in front of Troy and returning to the Greek camp. He also organized funeral games for Patroclus, which were marred by conflict and sorrow. The gods, angered by Achilles' disrespect for Hector's corpse, intervened. King Priam, guided by Hermes, came to Achilles and made a heartfelt plea, invoking the image of Achilles' own father and the pain of losing noble sons. This plea touched Achilles, leading him to finally return Hector's body for a dignified funeral in Troy. The Iliad ends here, but Achilles' tale goes on a bit longer. In the war's final days, Achilles continued his rampage, defeating notable foes like Memnon, the king of the Ethiopians, and Penthesilea, the queen of the Amazons. Memnon, a post-Homeric hero and the son of Tithonus and Eos, joined the Trojan War to assist his uncle Priam, the last king of Troy, after Hector's death. He showcased prodigious valor but was ultimately slain by Achilles. The story of Memnon, who Zeus later granted immortality, is a significant part of the Trojan War narrative and was often depicted in Greek art. Penthesilea, renowned for her bravery, skill in weapons, and wisdom, led an army of Amazons to Troy to fight against the Greeks. A tragic twist in her tale is that Achilles, who killed her, was believed to have been briefly slain by her before Zeus resurrected him. Overcome with remorse for killing Penthesilea, Achilles was said to have killed a man who mocked his grief over her death. However, Achilles' own downfall was imminent. His end came at the hands of Paris, Hector's brother, who shot an arrow that, guided by Apollo, struck Achilles' only weak spot, his heel. This vulnerability stemmed from his mother Thetis, dipping him into the river Styx as a child, making him invulnerable except for the heel by which she held him. The exact nature of how this heel wound proved fatal remains a topic of debate, with theories ranging from metaphysical explanations to the possibility of poison. Achilles' impact on Greek mythology and literature is so profound that he even appears as a ghost in Homer's The Odyssey, expressing sorrow over his death. This appearance underscores his lasting significance in Greek mythos, where his story is a rich tapestry of themes like destiny, intense emotion, and character flaws. His narrative continues to captivate audiences, illustrating the timeless nature of his myth. From his divine heritage to his dramatic role in the Trojan War, his story continues to fascinate us. If you found this exploration intriguing, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Before you go, I have a question for you. Which mythological hero's story would you like to explore next? Share your thoughts in the comments below.